It's a great day, sports world. What's up to all the sports lovers, haters, addicts, and fanatics out there? This is Larry Patterson coming to you for GT365. That's Game Time 365 Sports live here on the GTSN. That's the Game Time Sports Network. And we're previewing tonight's Thursday night matchup. The Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Two former first picks in each of the last two drafts. Joe Burrow, last year's first pick, drafted by Cincinnati, and then this year's pick, Trevor Lawrence. Both of them played the national title game a couple years ago. So both of them are now in the NFL. And what a night to do it on in a Thursday night prime time matchup. These are two young teams. The Jacksonville Jaguars 0-3 currently right now with losses to the Texans, losses to Denver, and losses to Arizona. Even though that Arizona one, they tried to do a little something, but just didn't work out. Trevor Lawrence is basically playing like a rookie. Intercepting the ball here, there, everywhere. Currently, his numbers right now: 64 for 118, 669 on the yardage, sacked 5 times. The line is kind of ass, but he's thrown 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions on the year. I believe he threw 3 in week 1, 2 in the last previous weeks, I want to say. And in the run game, he's 9 for 46, completing 54% of his passes of 197 snaps. He's got 35 bad throws. He's got 75 on-target throws. So, as far as accuracy, but, hey, the kid's trying. You can tell that he will be a good, competent quarterback here in the future. He's been blitzed 25 times. So, that tells you right there that line has got to improve. He's been hurried 13. He's been hit 9 times. He's been pressured 27. He's got an offensive grade of 46.6 according to PFF and a pass grade of 45.5. A 64.3 run grade, though. So he can take off on you. As far as play action, he's had 22 attempts for 135 yards in play action. And in RPOs, he's had in the pass 12 attempts for 88 yards, and in the run 4 attempts for 12 yards. His average pocket time is 2.4 seconds. So hopefully all of that hopefully he can release the ball a little bit better tonight, because the Bengals defensive front is playing pretty well here, to surprise to say the least. But at the same time, if you heard my 32 teams in 32 days, the Bengals edition, I said that I don't really expect this team to be like an AFC juggernaut, but I do expect them to be contenders. And so far, they are contending at 2-1 and having a chance to go into week 5 at 3-1, and that is great. We'll get to their defense in a little bit. James Robinson averaging 5.2 yards per carry, 31 carries, 160 yards, 1 touchdown. He had a big game last week. 15 targets, 12 catches, 92 yards in the run game. He's got a 83.7 run grade according to PFF. Carlos Hyde right behind him with 95 yards, 19 carries. He's got a 78.1 run grade. So while the run game has pretty much been non-existent, the pass game hasn't either. Just a young team, man. Marvin Jones in the receiving area, 28 targets, 17 catches, 194 yards, 2 touchdowns. DJ Chark, 22 targets, 7 catches, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns. Laviska Shenault, 21 targets, 13 catches, 95 yards. Then you got James O'Shaughnessy. I listed the tight end because, he's a part of the offense. James O'Shaughnessy, 9 targets, 7 catches, 72 yards. So Trevor is using them. Jamal Agnew is another weapon that he could be implemented in the offense. But he does more of his work on the special teams, and he had a kick return a couple weeks ago against Denver. So his kick returns on the season, 3 kick returns, 138 yards, and 1 touchdown. And then he's a defensive specialist, and he's had 4 punt returns for 13 yards. So he does both of them. So more in the kick returns. As far as Mr. Burrow on the tail of the tape, his average pocket time is a 2.3. But he's being a little bit more disciplined with the ball. He's turning it over too. He's got 4 interceptions on the year. But if you take a game like last week, it was dominated by the Bengals on a run game and Joe Burrow taking care of the ball. I know he had an interception in that game, but on the whole season, he's been 50. He's 53 for 75, so he hasn't thrown the ball as much as Trevor Lawrence, but he's 53 for 75. He's been sacked 10 times. Now I think his line is a little bit piss poor than Trevor Lawrence. 640 yards, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's got 6 carries, 9 yards as far as running the ball. And his line is pretty ass, but that's what the price that you pay when you give up Billy Price. And we'll talk about that. The acquisition that they got after that. We'll talk about that in a minute. He's had 10 bad throws, and he's had 60 on target throws. So he's a little bit more accurate with the ball, and he's been taking care of it. Not as many mistakes. But then again, this is going into week 4. He's completed 70% of his passes on 171 snaps. He's been blitzed 20 times. He's been hit 6 times. He's been pressured 21 times. In the RPO, he has 3 attempts for 12 yards. In play action, he's had 12 attempts for 106 yards. He's got an offensive grade of 79.9 according to PFF and a pass grade of 77. So Joe is really balling, and he could definitely ball with a weak defense they're playing against tonight. But the defense got playmakers. They definitely have playmakers. Joe Mixon definitely been carrying the rock this season. So it's not been just Joe Burrow. It's been the other Joe, the Joe who's missed the past couple seasons with injuries, averaging 4.3 yards per carry on the year, 67 carries, 286 yards, 1 touchdown. He's got a receiving grade of a 60.1, an offensive grade of a 79, and a run grade of an 81.3. 7 targets, 6 catches, 29 yards. Samaje Perine, not as much production, but he's on 6 carries for 21 yards, 3 targets, 2 catches, 15 yards. They also have Chris Evans, who's another running back, and I think he could be in the place of the Giovanni Bernard, how they use Giovanni Bernard as far as that third down back, that passing running back. So far he's on 3 targets, 3 catches, 40 yards this year. That says a lot right there. As far as the receiving, Tyler Boyd, 19 targets, 14 catches, 141 yards, and 1 touchdown. Jamar Chase, the guy that they tried to pick on early in the preseason when he tried to say about catching the ball, and he had to get used to the laces instead of the white around the ball. Well, guess what? I think he trolled all of our asses. And 16 targets, 11 catches, 220 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So I don't think I will ever believe anything Jamar Chase ever says again. T. Higgins is out for this game, so that's a weapon down. 15 targets, 10 catches, 118 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's unfortunate, but I think that they will be all right. CJ Uzomah, 5 targets, 4 catches, and 39 yards. That's the tight end. Mike Thomas, the other Michael Thomas, 4 targets, 2 catches, 24 yards. So that is what's going on with the Bengals. And another thing, um, if Joe Burrow has a chance to go 3-1 in his young career, in his second season due to injury last year, I would hope Joe Burrow do come out with this win because I'm really rooting for the Bengals this year. They definitely got talent. Not taking anything away from the Jaguars, but they are young and it's nah. But the Bengals are a sneaky little team that you got to keep your eyes on, especially on their defensive side of the ball. But before they hit Green Bay next week, I would hope that they win this game so they can go into Green Bay. Well, Green Bay coming into them 3-1 because then they got the Packers, then they got at the Lions, at Baltimore, at the Jets, Cleveland, and then a bye week before the bye week. So you got a mixture of games that you can win and a mixture of games that it's like, man, there may be a guaranteed loss, but we shall see. Jacksonville Jaguars, they are coming on an 18 game winning streak stemming from last year. They haven't won a game since the first game of last year. When Gardner Minshew was the starting quarterback. As far as the defense, man, that defense is doing some things this year. Logan Wilson, led by Logan Wilson, the second-year linebacker out of Wyoming. 30 total tackles on the year, 3 interceptions this year. He had 3 interceptions in his last 2 games, so he had one last week, and I think he had 2 this past week. So he been balling. A 77 coverage grade, 7 blitzes and 2 pressures. He's currently the 11th best linebacker out of 83 linebackers according to PFF. Jesse Bates, he is out for this game. That's a big blow. He's ranked 10th out of 80 safeties with a neck injury. He's got 22 total tackles. Von Bell, who's ranked 11th, a sack and a half. That's another thing. I said that earlier. If you want to talk about safety tandems, Von Bell and Jesse Bates, don't overlook those guys. Give them their respect. A sack and a half for Von Bell, 6 pressures. For Sam Hubbard, my bad. Von Bell, my bad. Von Bell ranked 11th out of 80. Then you got Sam Hubbard, who signed a big contract, my bad. A sack and a half, 6 pressures, and 17 total tackles. Currently ranked 70th out of 103 edge rushers. Eli Apple had a big game last week. He balled. He's ranked currently ranked 18th out of 83. 16 total tackles. Him and Jermaine Pratt. For Eli Apple, his numbers: targeted 29 times, completed against 19 times, 65.5% percentage on his coverage grade, on his coverage percentage. So I mean, he's been getting worked on too, but last week was a really big week for the boy. Mike Hilton, who came over from Pittsburgh, he's got 9 total blitzes on the season, 14 total tackles. Larry Ogunjobi, hope he brings it a little bit more tonight. He's got 13 total tackles on the year. BJ Hill, who was a surprise. He was a depth piece over there at New York, and they traded him for Billy Price. And what they get is 3 sacks and 8 total tackles with 4 pressures on the year. BJ Hill is balling, currently ranked 13th out of 122 defensive tackles this year. Trey Hendrickson, who had 13.5 sacks last year. You bring him over from New Orleans. They didn't want to pay him. He is currently ranked 52 out of 103 edge rushers, currently 8 pressures, 2.5 sacks, 5 total tackles on the year. So where you getting your money's worth is on the pressures on that edge. DJ Reader, 2 pressures and a sack coming off the bench, 8 total tackles. Chidobe Awuzie, I think he is playing tonight. I thought he might have been injured too, but he's got 9 total tackles on the year, 10 sacks as a team, 31 total pressures as a team. So this team can get after you. Do not sleep on these Bengals. Do not. I know they're young, and maybe the schedule kind of says a little different. as far as success, but we will cross that bridge when we get there. For the Jaguars, Miles Jack currently ranked 51st out of 83 linebackers, 25 total tackles. Damian Wilson, 58 out of 83 linebackers, 22 total tackles. He's got a 65 run defense grade. Andrew Wingard, I think he had an interception last week. He's also got a sack on the season, 6 missed tackles, though. He's got to get that straight. Shaquille Griffin, the free agent acquisition that they bought over, targeted 20 times, completed against 14 times, with a 70 completion percentage grade, 15 total tackles on the season, with a 55 coverage grade. So he can be pretty decent at times, but this year is not the year. Rayshawn Jenkins, probably the best coverage guy on that team, with a 64 coverage grade, 14 total tackles. Tyson Campbell, the rookie, 51 coverage grade, and then hopefully that'll improve because they just traded C.J. Henderson over to who did they trade C.J. Henderson to? C.J. Henderson went to the Panthers. So I believe they traded him to the Panthers. So you trade him to the Panthers, you know what I'm saying? In return, you get Dan Arnold. Dan Arnold sucks for Dan Arnold because he's going to a team that hasn't won a game yet. But, hey, at least you get to see what Tyson Campbell looks like on the season. 13 total tackles so far. He's ranked 82 out of 108 corners. So he's got room in all year to improve. Malcolm Brown and Chris Claybrooks got 10 total tackles on the year. Claybrooks is another corner, ranked 101st out of 108 corners. Malcolm Brown, who came over from New Orleans, also ranked 49 out of 122 defensive tackles. Davon Hamilton, three total pressures on the year, 71, ranked 71st out of 122 defensive tackles. Josh Allen is another person I'm watching tonight. He's ranked out of 103 edge rushers. He's ranked 61st, 2 sacks, 4 pressures. He's got 8 blitzes on the year. K'Lavon Chasen, a first-round pick I want to see improve this year, 2 pressures and 8 total tackles. He got 11 blitzes. Jaheed Ward, 8 total tackles, 5 pressures. Adam Gostis, who is also he also had a sack last week. Yeah, he had a sack last week, and he's got 6 total tackles, 3 pressures for this whole game. I do expect this to be a high-scoring game. I expect a lot of turnovers, whether it be fumbles, whether it be interceptions. I think Trevor Lawrence is still going to get his rookie woes. Because this Bengals defensive front, I don't think they're going to be playing around, man. Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson and DJ Reader and BJ Hill. BJ Hill's been flying all over the field, so definitely got to watch out for him. Ultimately, I think I got the Bengals winning this game 34, 35, 28. So I think the Jaguars can cover that 7.5. So we'll see. Leave your comments. Tell me what you think. If you ain't subscribed to the YouTube channel, GameTime Sports Network, please do so. Also like the Facebook page, GameTime Sports Network. This is Larry Patterson coming to you for GT365. That's GameTime 365 Sports, live here on the GTSN. That's the GameTime Sports Network.